Hi, everybody. First of all, thanks for SteelOrbis to give me this chance to have a presentation. And I am not an economist. We are a trader. And I'm not a pure analysis. Actually, we're more on the trading. So we are trading around maybe this year 8 million metric ton of domestic steel, and then we have 6 million metric ton of international sales. So we get those feelings more from our actual sales, but not from statistics. So let me start with the presentation. The first quarter steel demand is really not very good. Actually, January, our sales is very good. By the end of last year and this year, actually till January, the sales is very good. Our January sales has topped 1.5 million metric ton. But after Chinese New Year, all of a sudden, the demand disappeared, both domestic and international. You can see that we have a sales sample. This is coming from some trading company for IREPAS. You can see this is around 237 traders daily sales figures. February and March decreased too much. The decrease does not really mean that there's totally no demand. A lot is traders' speculations. So February and January, speculation almost disappeared. The left is the IREPAS. So by the time I attend the conference, actually IREPAS this year, demand has reduced by 25%. The right side is for hot rolled coil. Hot rolled coil, the performance is relatively better. Up to the moment I come here, actually, the demand has increased. And then you see the price has almost collapsed on February and March. Fortunately, we are seeing a market stabilization after April. As a result, the production has been very low since this year. You know, historically, after Chinese New Year, production will peak maybe 2.4 million metric ton daily. But this year, after Chinese New Year, the production has been at very low level. Up till today, it is 2.28 million metric ton crude steel production daily. Just slightly increased. And relatively good news is that inventory is relatively healthy due to the low production. The inventory reduction has been going even a little bit faster than average level. So last 2 weeks, the total inventory for 5 major products in China is weekly reduced by around 1 million metric ton. That is pretty good, but this is also because of the low production. If you see this, you know, the black curve is 2024. You can see that before April, the demand has been very lag behind the traditional level. But you see luckily after April, you see that it has already coming to the normal, historical level. That means demand for April has returned to normal. Everybody is very concerned about Chinese demand. Chinese demand now has different 2 sectors. One is real estate. The real estate performance is still very not good. You know, new house sales for first quarter dropped around 20%. New construction started, dropped around 30%. And investment dropped 9.5%. So basically, the real estate sector is deteriorating. And the 30 biggest cities is dropped 40% in quarter one. This is the major reason that caused the price drop. Infrastructure is relatively better. Infrastructure investment growth slowed to 8.6% in March from last December of 10.7, slightly dropped. But it is lower than what we expected. By the end of last year, we has been expecting the infrastructure growth to around 8 to 10% because we have expectation the government will give some stimulus for the economy. Actually, just the first discussion, the gentleman says that Chinese government has been, taking all measures to stimulate the market. But actually, what we fear from China, the government thinks last year they take no action to stimulate the economy. I believe that they believe that 5% GDP growth is good enough for them, and no need for them to give some stimulus. And since last year, government's policy is very determined. I mean, they want to shift the economic growth model from real estate or construction rely to high technology and new technologies. So our expectation actually end of last year is very good because we're seeing that the sales of the houses has dropped, and then we believe that eventually government, they need to do something to push the sales of houses up. But by February, we realized that it was falsified. Then government only talk, but did not take any action to do something. The price drop is also because of another issue, because of the iron ore. End of the last year, we has been expecting that the iron ore supply will be very tight this year. Not very tight. It is more or less the balance because the new capacity comes and the demand is there. So expecting the iron ore price will be stable at around $120. But unfortunately, this year, for the first quarter, the supply of iron ore has increased from several areas. One is Brazil. Brazil has increased around 11 million because the weather is very good. Traditionally, the first quarter, by April, it is the typhoon season in the south. And then the shipment for iron ore will be hindered. But this year, the weather is very good. So the shipment from Brazil has been very smooth. Also India, their internal demand has reduced, and then their shipment has increased a little bit. Totally increased for 13 million metric ton for the first quarter. We was expecting that the inventory at the port to be around 130 million metric ton by the end of May, but it increased to 147 million metric ton by now. So the market fear of the raw material collapse and then form a negative feedback circle. Iron ore has dropped to almost $100 at the lowest price, and also coke has dropped 800 RMB from the peak. So totally the production cost has dropped too much since this year. This is a total different. Previous years when the prices drop, the mills is losing money. But this year, when it dropped to the bottom, the mills has much more profit than before. If you use with the old material that they booked 2 or 3 months ago, they might lose money. But if you use the raw material that they book at this moment, actually even at the lowest price, the hot rolled coil mills, they're enjoying too much of the profit. So they did not stop at all. Steel export has, for me, I'm also very surprised. I'm sorry to say that increased 30% for the first 3 months. It looks that April will be still a very high figure, but it helped to support our domestic price. And I guess everybody is very concerned about these export figures. And the peak time for China for export is 2015. At that time, achieved 130 million metric ton of export. If with this figure, we probably will achieve 100 million metric ton of steel export this year. But this time is not as desperate as that time, because you see, last year China's export has increased 23 million metric ton. Take into consideration that if you look at the statistics, Russia plus Ukraine, their steel export has dropped 25 million metric ton after the war. So China last year increased 23 million metric ton, was exactly to feed up with the absence of Russia and Ukraine materials. We're a trader because we're selling to many of the market that we never ever imagined before. Before this war, we're mainly exporting to Asia, but now we're exporting to many places, and many places that the material that they require they cannot get from other places, because some of them they need better quality, and then no other place they can supply. China's steel demand structure has totally changed. Before, China is very much rely on construction. Construction maybe make up for 60% of the steel demand. Now has dropped too much. If those figures show that manufacturing is doing pretty good. Actually, flat product is mainly for manufacturing. In the last 2-3 years, hot rolled coil production has increased 40 million metric ton, but everything consumed. Of course, export also help maybe 15 million metric ton, but domestic, our manufacturing is doing pretty well. Even this year, we have a domestic sales of hot rolled coil. 2022, we are selling monthly around 180, 190,000 metric ton monthly. Last year, we achieved 250,000 metric ton monthly for hot rolled coil only. And this 3 months, our domestic sales for hot rolled coil reached 420,000 metric ton monthly. So flat product is doing pretty good. This is also very surprising me, because when your economy has slowed down, the long product has slowed down. Flat product, you have to have it accordingly reduced. But China's situation is totally different. Every mill has shifted whatever they can shift into flat product production and going with the full speed. And then they remain very low with the rebar and rebar production. So if you look at this one, now has the manufacturing has increased from 41% to 47%. Of course, construction altogether, construction has 2 sectors. One is infrastructure, one is real estate. 2 sectors adding together is roughly still have a 53% of the steel demand. But manufacturing has already increased a lot. I'll show you what is doing. Actually, all industrial sector is doing very good in China. Showing, high-speed trend, increased first quarter 120%. Automobile 3.9%. Automobile, China has produced 30 million metric ton unit of cars, and and the new energy cars penetration ratio now has already almost going to, as the latest statistics is very high. You know, Chinese people, when they now buy cars, they will prefer new energy cars. And actually, China's new energy cars is now very advanced. I'm sorry to say that. For me, if I want to buy a car, I would prefer Chinese model. I'm sorry, huh? It is not a threat to the market. Basically, you know, Chinese producers they provide whatever function you need. And technology-wise, now the design is very good and the technology is very good. So I don't believe that the export will increase too much because the export one portion is because the absence of European cars into Russia, and then we take the market. But in the long run, renovation technology improvement has taken place in this area. Washing machine, home appliance sales also very good. Every year is 30%. This year is also 30%. But we're seeing that the home appliance manufacturing figure will slow down a little bit after June. Air condition also 30% increase, and very surprised. What is doing well also this new install capacity of photovoltaic power generation. China has invested a lot in this new power, new energy. According to figures, you know, China's total power generation 30% already green power, and 15% is solar and this wind power. So the step that they make in the last few years is really great. For me, I also very surprised to hear that. But you know, for this new energy, they still need technology advancement, that they still have some obstacles that they can really become a usable power. But the investment is around 30% yearly increase. We believe that for this investment will continue for another 10 years. So that will be the support of the industry. Shipbuilding is also doing pretty good. Shipbuilding, two reasons. One is because you know, this energy consumed technology has advanced very much. So the shipping companies, they are changing very quickly of the shipping models. You know, they're calculating how much oils they're consuming, and then they're changing very quick with this shipbuilding. The carrying ships, carrying vessels. Also, this year, China take a lot orders from Korea because, you know, the US interest rate is very high, 6%. China's interest rate is 3%. Maybe 2.8%, so get the benefit of the interest difference. So what caused a weak demand? I summarize it as a traders. One is that no stimulus from the government. You know, the National People's Congress that held at February were expecting some stimulus to come. Before the Chinese New Year, we're expecting that, end of last year, we're expecting that the GDP growth to be 5%, but the central fiscal deficit will be set to 3.8%. But February, when the government finally decided to 3%, then the market lost hope. They believe that, they understand that the government will not give any stimulus for the economy. That is one of the reasons that after February, the market collapsed. The second is that the issuing of the local government special bonds was very slow. The yearly target for this local government special bond is around 3.9 trillion RMB. But the first 4 months, actually we have already the figure of April. The curve is very flat. It's much lower than expected. for Q1, it's only 16% of the total quota has been issued. Normally, the average last 5 years is 35%. This is the major funding for infrastructure. So another major reason that the steel performance is not good is because that the issuing the government money is not pumping to the market. The third reason is the stop of the infrastructure in 12 provinces. We're expecting that the government to take more infrastructure investment, but after Chinese New Year, they stop infrastructure investment in 12 provinces. 12. China totally have 30%, 30 provinces, and then 12 was stopped. I think it's right, because China's infrastructure is already the best in the world. So the investment is really useless. And then it spread to another 19. So they asked the local government to be more careful about your debts. So you have to calculation of your debts, and then, but this 19, it is not totally stopped. 12 provinces, those many the faraway provinces is stopped. So infrastructure, it is these 12 provinces account for around 25% of the total infrastructure investment. International demand is also weak. Europe, you know better than me, well, before end of last year, we're expecting that the Europe to come up to buy 2 rounds, and then eventually it come up to buy only 1 round, and then disappeared. India, they have election. Before the election, we believe that, I'm sorry, time is left. We believe that the Modi government will spend more money to ensure his election to win, but this time he's 100% sure that he's there, so they stop majority of the funding and then postpone the projects. And then last year, India has been, you know, buying a lot from China, but starting from December, they come up to compete with China. But believe after the election, India will come back to the market. And this time, you see that when the Chinese whole coal price dropped to $500 US, 515, India maintained at the 560, 570. Vietnam is also a problem. Vietnam is more political because their leader is fighting, and then the real estate is almost stopped. It cannot be resumed in the short time. Middle East, the war, and also, I forget to mention Korea. Korea's real estate is also performing very bad. So in the world, you didn't see the demand. So in conclusion, actually, in general, in long term, there's not too much to expect. The main reason is the real estate. I'll give you a figure. In 2018, 2019, the new house sales, China has achieved 1.7 billion square meters. Actually, the COVID, China tried to solve this real estate problem actually starting from 2018-19. But suddenly the COVID comes, and then once again, they increase the investment in the real estate to offset the COVID issue, but it eventually create a bubble. So 1.7 million square meters of house sales has been a problem for the Chinese government. And then Chinese government now realized, because actually this is a turning point for the population. Chinese population has already dropped, and government, they realize that they cannot rely anymore on the real estate. So they're teaching people not to buy houses anymore. You know, houses is for living, not for speculations, not for investment. Actually, in the last 3 years, houses has been our invest channel, not for living, you know. China is totally different. China, you know, don't scare about Chinese real estate. Chinese people's consuming habit is totally different from other places. Other places, they're using their future money to buy the houses. Chinese people, no. You know, majority of the people, they're using their saving to have the houses. And it is very common for a family to have 3 or 4 houses for us. And now the problem is that nobody want to have babies. And then when the 2 couples marry, always you have 6 or 7 houses. So practically, houses in China, you have no future. And I believe that this year, so at this moment, we're still seeing 2023, it dropped to 112 million square meters sales. This year deteriorate. Probably this year will come to only 1 billion square meters. And maybe it will drop to maybe 800,000 square meters later on in the long run. So, but if you look at this chart, I show it at the red one, you know, the completion of the houses has increased 30% in the last few years. That might explain how the manufacturing has been very good. You know, in the last, before the COVID, everybody that acquire lands a lot, and then they postpone the delivery of the houses. But starting from last 2 years, everybody stopped buying lands, and then they speed up with the delivery of the house, completion of the houses. In the last 2 years has been increased by 30%. This is matched with the home appliance sales of 30% increase. But this is a threat because the houses under delivery is coming back to normal level, back to 2018. So maybe someday you will see a sharp decline of some home appliance sales. So in the long run, it's not very good. In the short run, what we can expect, this is from a trader's one. I think our major hope is that the government to accelerate the local government special bonds. Actually, the annual target 3.9 billion RMB is the set. So far, the money has been issued very slowly, but by any means, it will be issued. Yearly target. Just when? I don't know when. But the government has already promised by the end of April, close to last week, they have said they will speed up the issuing of the money and then turn those money into real demand. So on this aspect, I believe that maybe we can see better demand either May or June, maybe June. Last December, end of 2023, you know, December, the demand is very good. It's only because that the local government special bond has been issued at a quicker pace. The second, 3 projects. Chinese government in the last 1 year has been mentioning the 3 projects that urban village renovation. Urban village renovation has not too much with the big demand for steel. Affordable housing construction, it is not really started yet. They want to change the house model from sales. That they want to learn from Singapore government that the government buy the houses and rent to the local people. If it realized that will create some demand for steel. Thirdly, the user emergency dual-use infrastructure. These 3 projects were calculated that will create totally around 1 trillion yuan investment, respectively. This is one of the possibilities. The second is that what government has been continually saying, acceleration of equipment renewable policies. Government has said that the equipment renewal rate to be 25% by 2027. Probably it has already started, but we cannot get any figures from those whether this policy has been carrying on or not. But it will, if it comes true, it will maintain the manufacturing investment to be 5.74% by 2027. This will create some demand for freight product. Ultra long-term special treasury bonds that the government say they have 1 trillion target for that. And where to spend those money, we don't clear yet. But if it goes to urban-rural integration, regional coordination, it might create some demand. But this is not really clear yet. Where is the support for the prices? For the iron ore, actually, iron ore statistics shows that according to current, because our daily steel production probably will increase. Now it's 2.28 million metric ton crude steel daily. It will increase to maybe 2.32 to 2.35 million metric ton every day, and then it will give the support for iron ore. Personally, I feel iron ore will increase a little bit. Coking coal. Coking coal, the inventory is very low. So personally, I believe that coking coal, coke price has already increased by 300 RMB in the last 2-3 weeks. And today they announced another, they're trying to announce another 100 RMB increase. So if it happens, that means increase for 400 RMB. And then it will increase our cost. At the current cost, hot rolled coil, the best hot rolled coil mill producers, they are already very little margin, even worse than at the bottom, because the raw material has increased much faster than the finished product. Export, I cannot imagine how much will be this year, but it is a very important factor. If it reduce too much, it will give the pressure for our domestic market. It will drop the price. The balance sheet this year is very difficult. The last 4 or 5 years, we can clearly estimate it that what is the demand. But this year, I guess, we are very difficult to give. Or both domestic demand or international demand. I think this year is very difficult to give a predict. So I just put it here for. And SteelOrbis has asked me to give a idea about CBAM. Actually, CBAM, I'm sorry to say, Chinese mills, that whatever mills we are talking about, very few people has moved on this issue. They practically don't know how to react. For me, personally, I see it as a practical issue. Actually, the last 4, 5, 7 years, China, USA, and Europe has been discussing about this carbon neutralization for 4 or 5 years. And then what I know, majority of the Chinese mills has invest billion of RMB for this this pollution control. Chinese mills, whatever they make from the last 10 years has already put into this pollution control equipments. This time, if I ask them to shift it to green steel, I think very difficult. They practically don't know how to react. And personally, I don't know whether this CBAM has a future or not. Actually, first of all, whether the climate, the weather get warm was due to the carbon or not. Now, no any science has give a correct answer. This is one. Second, there's a few ways to achieve this green steel. One is HBI. HBI requires a high-grade raw material, right? The price is very limited. So when everybody shifted to HBI, and then it will eventually increase the cost of a lot for Europe. Second, this hydrogen. And then the hydrogen, the carrying, storing is a massive. Besides this cost, the investment is massive. Unless you see a technology renovation, you are able to use hydrogen for the produce of steel. And then the last one is the scrap. You have so many scrap dealers here, where you can find additional scrap in the world. So practically, this is some of the. I saw it more political issues. But as Europe have to think deeply. If Europe take this action 10 years ago, I'm very confident that you will succeed. But if today, if do these things, you need to have a premium industry to support, because it will eventually increase a lot of Europe production cost. But today, how many industry Europe still have a premium to support this is a question. So I suggest Europe people, you have to, I'm sorry to say that, but just as a trader, think carefully about this issue. I'm sorry, this is my presentation.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Mr. Yuan. Do we have any questions from the floor? Please.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious, we have seen that 2020 and 2023 was not so good domestically in China. I just wanted to hear your comments on the margins, on the profitability of the mills. Because if you are seeing this slowdown for 2 years, for how many years, let's say, mills should continue running on similar levels while if they are making losses? I'm not sure whether they are making losses or not, but if they are making losses, they cannot keep the same running utilization rates for years and years and years,
I think it's very difficult to answer this question because Chinese economy is resilient. It is not as bad as people imagine. Last year, actually, demand is very good for my personal point of view. Our sales almost double, because our sales has been going directly to end users. From all the middle channel has been cut. Everybody feeling is very bad, but the end user side is very good. The official figure for the steel production is 1.2 billion metric ton, but the actual production is around 1.7 billion. Actually, last year the actual production is 50 million. I'm sorry to say, 50 million metric ton then. So practically the demand is very good. This year, fortunately, the rebar producers, they almost stopped at a very low level. It never happened before. This year, the rebar producers is really bad because the moving of rebar is very difficult, but the freight is very good. So they automatically stop, even though they have profit. At the bottom, the rebar mills, they still have a profit of 100 RMB, even 150. But everybody maintained at a very low level. So I don't know how to answer, but in the long run, I believe that China don't need so many steels. In the long run, but how many years to take? I was expecting that last year the demand to drop maybe 50 million metric ton, but eventually it does not. This year probably it will drop maybe 20 million metric ton, but it is not as market expected that it will drop maybe 100 million metric ton yearly. No, I guess maybe 20 million or 30 million yearly drop will be already quite a lot. And then you have to see whether the industry, how the industry is performing. Nobody knows.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? No? May I ask a very short question from myself about the steel exports you get? I understand that all expectations are preliminary, but for this year, you expected over 90 million metric tons of exports for steel, so not less than last year at least. But do you believe that there will be changes in the structure of exports? I mean, for flats, longs, and semis, taking into account that inspections on non-VAT business started recently?
Personally, I believe that this year will be higher than 90 million. But the export mostly is from flat product. Very few already on the long. Non-VAT issue, I'm not sure whether it will really be stopped or not. But if it comes through, it might reduce a little bit of the export, not too much. If it does not, I don't know, if the government, speed up with the local government bonds, maybe demand from China will get better. So it's very difficult to predict. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.